Welcome to Reflect on This. Hello, I am Johnny Henshaw. This is the podcast version of devotionals I send to my family and friends. In these devotionals, I share the things I'm learning about the ways and nature of God through applying my study of the Scriptures to the world around me. And don't forget to keep listening at the conclusion of today's episode to hear about my recommended resources, such as podcasts that I find helpful and encouraging, books that inspired some of these episodes, and ministries that I want you to know about. So let's get started. Please join me today as we reflect on this. I have been reflecting on the recent attempted assassination of presidential candidate Donald Trump. My heart goes out to the families impacted by this terrible act. One brave man immediately jumped to cover family members, taking a fatal bullet to protect them. Two others are, at the time of this podcast, in critical but stable condition in the hospital. I have heard many responses in the hours and days following this event. Bill Johnson's response stood out to me as significant and profound. He said, "Bitterness is murder in diapers." What did he mean? And what does it have to do with this event? Simply this: murder is the culmination of a sequence of stages in the heart of a person. First, the person feels offended by someone, by their actions, words, or attitudes. If we don't forgive, we move into the next heart stage and allow bitterness to grow in our hearts. Hebrews 12:15 says, "Make sure that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springs up, causing trouble, and by it defiling many." In other words, if bitterness is allowed to persist, then it comes out in a person's words and actions, which fall short of glorifying God. These words and actions offend or harm the recipient, and sometimes even come out in the extreme action of physical harm, such as shooting a rifle at someone. Do you see how bitterness is simply murder in diapers? It is the infant stage of a cancer in our hearts that, if not eliminated, can grow to disastrous consequences. So back to my original question. As followers of Jesus, what should be our response to the growing bitterness we see in our nation? Well, the answer is this: we must be the example, the salt and light to the nation. And we must then winsomely share this approach with those within our sphere of influence. We must share it with the people of all political and philosophical persuasions, because there is plenty of room for change in all groups. In short, we must lead a heart revolution in our nation. It must start with us. Here is how. To nip it in the bud, as Barney Fife would often say, we must stop this heart sequence at the start by choosing to forgive the initial offense. Here are some key points about forgiving others. Forgiving does not mean that what happened is okay or right. Forgiving does not mean that your feelings will always immediately change. Forgiving does mean that you are releasing your right to continue going over the offense in your heart and to wish evil or vengeance on the offender. Forgiving is an intentional decision to let the offense go and live with the scars. Lewis Smedes said, "To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you." Jesus is our example of forgiveness. Luke 23:34 says, "But Jesus was saying, 'Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing.'" The love of Jesus is our source of forgiveness. Ephesians 4:32 says, "But instead be kind and affectionate toward one another. Has God graciously forgiven you? Then graciously forgive one another in the depths of Christ's love." It has been said that bitterness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So bitterness not only causes harm to others, it also causes harm to us. Remember that any unforgiveness I harbor in my heart will impede the flow of God's forgiveness to me. Mark 11:25 says, "Whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father who is in heaven will also forgive you your transgressions." Choose not to take up offenses for others. Psalms 15:3 says, "He does not slander with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor takes up," literally lifts or picks up a reproach against his friend. In other words, don't let someone else's offense toward a person cause you to become offended with that person as well. Don't pick it up. Then finally, go the second mile. Ask God to bless our offenders. Luke 6:27 through 28 says, "But I say to you who hear, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you." So what is the key takeaway here? Before we go pointing fingers at others for the bitterness in our nation, we as followers of Jesus must first examine our own hearts and fully forgive anyone that has offended us. If God's people will rise up and commit to cleaning up our own hearts first, I believe that it will challenge the rest of our nation to examine their own hearts. Perhaps it could even be the catalyst for a great revival in our nation. Today, I encourage you to reflect on this. Today's featured resource is the Bible study software package entitled eSword. This free Bible study software is available for download to a wide range of computers and mobile devices, including Windows and Mac computers, and Apple and Android tablets and phones. The download includes several free public domain resources, including Bibles, dictionaries, commentaries, devotionals, and maps. You can then download from within the eSword program many more free public domain resources. You can optionally purchase whatever copyrighted resources you want to create a powerful study library. One of the greatest benefits of Bible study with this software is the multi-windowed display, so that you can simultaneously have windows open to a Bible translation, a dictionary, and a commentary. They are automatically linked, so that if you select a verse, then the corresponding entry in the selected dictionary and commentary are displayed. You can also easily compare Bible translations by viewing them in parallel windows. For the Bible translations that have embedded Strong's numbers, referencing the corresponding Hebrew or Greek word, you can hover over a Strong's number and a tooltip pops up with the Strong's definition for that word. To learn more and to get a free download of this amazing study tool, on your computer, go to esword.net. That's e-sword.net. On your mobile device, go to your app store and search for eSword. That's e-sword.